Not in that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Usually try driving it's right.
Yes, you know. Oh. Yeah, we should have done Yeah.
Evening, everyone. We're about to get started, so if you want to grab a seat, that'd be great.
Oh, Peter, how you doing?
Oh, good.
I'm Paul.
Yes, Paul.
Very nice to meet you. I think we've spoken on
We have.
before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
That's fine. Not a problem. Is there any particular table that we're sitting at, or does it matter?
You can sit wherever you want. I mean,
Yeah.
Tom sit here.
Yeah.
Tom, people
Yeah.
sit at this table, but you know, David?
Yes, no, I have no idea with it.
Generally, isn't like the. But anyone can sit. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
We-
I need to give my paper, send the ham and everything, so. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Of course you have.
Nice.
No, it's all part of my rolling pencil. Thanks, mate.
Alrighty, we're gonna kick off. Apparently, there's been a big accident on the motorway. That's why there's a little bit of a delay of people coming in. Anyway, well, are you here? Well, me.
What do you want me to do? Okay.
Alrighty, welcome everyone, and welcome everyone that's online as well. We've got a few people there. I don't know if they can hear right now because Kate's just testing. Emily's away overseas at the moment, so we've got no name tags, unfortunately, but it's all a memory game. We already know who each other are anyway, so all good. There we go. So this is our agenda tonight. So everyone's seen the online invite. So just to quickly recap, we've got our innovation segment, and Mark from Galvin's going to do a little bit on that, and then we've also got Chris from Vindex, and then we've got Neil Savory. Where is Neil? Hello. So spoke to Neil a lot of times. I never actually met you. And same with Peter. So Peter's here as well. So welcome, Peter. So Peter's going to do a little bit as well. And so we'd like to start by acknowledging all our affiliate members. So thank you. We can't do without you. And of course, all our corporate members. And you, all our members are really, really appreciated. So it's great to have everyone here and everyone that's online as well. I mentioned that before. And then before we start, just like to recognize the traditional custodians of this land in which we work, live, and learn. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders both past and present. So let's crack on. So this is just a recap on all the communications that we've done in the last few months, and we've been pretty busy there. We were actually going to do a little bit of an overview of our strategy and stuff as well, but I'll come out a little bit more in the next slides about the survey that we did as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually present that strategy to the different states in Canberra, Tasmania, and also South Australia as well, and then we'll do a recap in September. So just bear with us on that. So you might recall some of the guys, people over here, we did a survey very loosely, just to sort of show of hands to see what people were thinking. And we did this survey online, and it was about 55, 60 people who did the survey. So thanks for everyone for doing that. And this is the results. So it's pretty small, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but the first question was all about would you be willing to travel somewhere else? And that's come about by a few people suggesting going to Parramatta or going into the city centre, and this is sort of the results we got. So it's very, very, very good. So the next one was very surprising. So this is the result of where, if you were willing to go somewhere, where would you want to go to? And the biggest response was Newcastle, which was really strange. So I think a lot of people come down from the Central Coast, Newcastle, from different parts of New South Wales, and which is really interesting. So again, we weren't expecting that, and so we're going to be putting all this into the strategy that we'll be presenting shortly as well, or next time. The next question was about the venue here, and everyone seems to be quite happy with the venue, so it's great. About a different format. Everyone wants a different format as well, so very open, so it's just great. Happy days. And then we spoke about a breakfast meeting. So like the likes of the PCA or different organizations do different sort of stand-up sort of events, and that seems to be quite fortunate. Everyone's quite acceptable to that as well. So we'll be making some improvements. So thanks everyone for that. So I just wanted to jump into this one. This is something that I personally been working on for about 6 months now. There's a team of various architects, structural engineers, contractors, QSs that are looking to make a difference in industry. And this is all about the approach in terms of what's 30% of a 70% tender design. You know, I think everyone has this problem when you're bidding for things or when you have to deliver things. And this is born out of Dan from our RP infrastructure. What was that? Cool. Sorry, so that was born out of an idea from Dan. Dan's a QS, and he was very frustrated in terms of how he prices for jobs, because he's looking at doing different jobs with health infrastructure, schools infrastructure, no consistency. And so I really recommend that you go online, just search for the Australian Framework for Design Services. There's our LinkedIn profile on there as well. I put it on the HCAA website too. We'll maybe put it out on an email, but if you just search for that, there's been about 150 people who have already done the survey, and it's very surprising results. So I'm looking to do some change there. Tom, do you want to talk, or do you want me to just, sorry, Dave's got his hand up. Say again? What the EFBCS, it will be. So it's at the moment that the reason for what we're doing is doing a survey, and then once we've got enough people interested, and we can use that information, we can then, there's 2 stages to it. If you go to the website, you'll see all about what we're planning on doing. So it's a proper approach, and then we'll put a paper together, and then from there there'll be change. Yeah, the survey is the first point, just to see if does anyone want change. You know, I mean, it's very clear cut at the moment that change is required. Yeah. Tom. So Tom did a little request at the last meeting for crowdfunding, and I'd like to say thanks to Viega and Rehau, and also Warren Smith that put $1,000 in each, and I think that's probably what we require. Yeah. And so that's all about just making a change in how water hygiene is done in the industry. And so the whole point of that is to prepare a paper, yeah, and then from that it'll go to the Australian standards, and we can make a change, make a difference. Yeah, does that sum it up? Yeah, cool. Again, here's Tom again. So Tom, hey, by the way, Tom just became a dad yesterday, so congratulations, Tommy. So Tom's a bit tired at the moment. Tom's underdressed and not prepared. That's why he's sitting down. But Tom did a briefing at the PCA, and so a few weeks ago now, wasn't it, Tom, with Len Lease, and that was very well received. So Tom's very passionate about watershedding, and I think there's a few people in the room as part of that committee as well. And you did a presentation at lunchtime, wasn't it? And
Exactly.
yeah, do you want to say something, or?
No. That's all. And good turnout.
It's very successful. Happy days. Well done, Tom. Nick has put this on the LinkedIn. There's a lot of text here, so maybe just quickly paraphrase what he's saying. But so I think everyone's aware of this. But from Monday, the 3rd of July, if you're a design or building practitioner or a professional engineer working in Class 3 or 9C buildings, you must be registered with New South Wales Fair Trading. Extending the regulation of Class 2 buildings into additional classes, a continuation of the New South Wales Government's commitment to restore public confidence in the building and construction industry. The changes are designed to ensure that buildings are safe and secure, that the industry is more customer focused, and that better data is captured throughout the building life cycle. So that's on a LinkedIn account at the moment. So if you've got any questions or on that, I think Nick might be online, but if anyone's got any questions or want to comment on that, please do that on LinkedIn. Get a discussion going, that'd be great. But just make sure that everyone's aware of that. It's just happened. New segments here. So we've obviously got the different states in which we're operating, and you know, we've got again a little bit texty, but this is the first time we've done it. So Carl's given us a little bit of a summary. I don't know if everyone's aware of who Carl is, but Carl's based in Canberra, and he's just highlighting that what's happening in New South Wales is going down that road as well in the ACT. And so he's just saying that everyone needs to be aware, if you're working in ACT, you need to be, they're making provisions for register down there as well. And the second point he's talking about, I think this is something that's probably come up in his project, but he's just highlighting that fire service exceeding 15 litres a second are triggering a requirement for a brake plant to be installed. And so Carl's pushing towards making a practical approach with Icon Water, and he'll provide further updates at the next meeting. And this one, he's attended on behalf of the HCAA, he attended this this workshop all about the electrification, which is happening everywhere in Australia. And so he's provided pretty detailed notes there. I'll let you have a quick skim of that. While you're doing that, if anyone's interested, our next meeting is on the 25th of July in Canberra, which is not so far away. And I know that a lot of people here have offices, or if you're affiliates as well, you might be interested in attend those meetings. So I know a couple of people here actually go to those meetings. And 27th of July. Has it been changed, is it?
I've been invited to it, it's 27th.
Okay, I got this off the website. All right, so 27th of July. We'll make sure the website's updated. Thanks guys for that. But if anyone's interested in joining the committee or being part of that, that would be great. I think they got probably about 40 people, isn't it, Matt? Yeah, about 40 people attend that. So we'll be going down to that as well. And like I say, we'll be like rolling out the strategy down there. Same again, Derek Harristark was here. I think he was here the last meeting before. So many of you might know Derek. Derek and Alfie are sort of heading up what's happening in South Australia. And Derek's giving us a quick update. So just to paraphrase what he's saying there, he'll just be attending and will report back on the WITAC meeting on the 14th of August. And again, if you're interested in attending that meeting or if you're interested in part of the committee, please do reach out to Derek or reach out to myself or Emily, and we can make that happen. Oh, and he's also asking if anyone's interested in inviting any special guests, so any plumbing organizations or anyone that might be interested in coming along, please do that. That'd be great. And then finally, Ryan. So I think a lot of people know Ryan. Ryan's down obviously down in Tasmania. And he's been doing a lot of work there, as you can see on that slide. Very, very texty. We'll try and improve upon that. But Ryan's been talking to like-minded associations, and in particular the Plumbing Surveyors Association of Australia, Tasmania. He's also mentioned as well, similar to the ACT and what's happening here in New South Wales, registration requirements are required in Tasmania for doing design work. And the next meeting is August 9th. If I'm not correct to be wrong. So that's if anyone's interested in going down there as well, that'd be great. And then this slide is just a sort of summary of what's happening and when it's happening. So we've got meetings planned for it's on the 27th of July. There you go. So that's this is what's happening for the rest of the year, and then we'll make sure that this is updated properly on the website as well. So rolling straight into Around the Bend. So I don't know what this is or what's going on here. Does anyone know what's happening here? I'll keep going. The toilet seat cover that grows real grass. Does that sound appealing? No clue what's going on there. Any ideas? You've seen that before, Tom? These are actually real pictures, by the way. And this one's the best. What's happening there? What's going on? You understand what's happening there? There's a little video. Hopefully it's going to work.
Why as you're topping up the toilet?
Well done, David. I think David's here, isn't he? Want me to get your prize, David? Here he comes. Congratulations, mate. I love the commentary. Would you like white or red?
Red.
Red, go for it.
Thank you.
Well done, Phil. Thank you. Well done. And we really appreciate if anyone's got any funny stories or funny videos or funny pictures, please do send them in. It's it makes it a little bit more lighthearted. Okay, so we're about to do our innovation segment. So I'm going to ask Mark from Galvin to step up, and he's going to give us a 4 to 5 minute spiel on what's happening with Galvin. So please put your hands together for Mark. Quite close to that.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that looks as well.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Thanks for that, Paul, and to the HCAA for letting us do this hot topic today. As you can see up there, it's probably a good opportune time to probably talk about this because there's been some changes to the NCC 2023. So I haven't got long, so I'm just going to crack on. We're going to talk about lead in drinking water, what manufacturers are doing, and so on. But first of all, I think we should probably look back at the past and see where we've actually come from to where we are now. So you can see on that slide there, the media hype was around about 2017, and that was probably basically around the Perth Children's Hospital, along with other areas as well where high levels of lead leached into the water supply. But there were mitigating circumstances to Perth Children's Hospital, but it did cause a ripple effect, as we'll look down here now at this other media release that was around about probably probably 2018, where Geelong Council found high levels of lead in their drinking water in their public facilities, parks and so on, that were abnormally high levels of lead. So that caused the Victorian government to get into a bit of a stir, especially the VSBA. They came out with, and we'll look at it later on, but they immediately said, look, no more brass. That's how everyone's all stainless steel in the schools. That's it. And then a few weeks later, they sort of backflipped to, well, okay, we'll accept 0.25 because they realized there was no product around for them, for their schools that was already compliant to full lead safe. So I'll crack on to the next one. And you can probably see why. If you look here at to an adult, high levels of lead in the water probably isn't going to do a lot. It's not going to make you feel good. It's not going to make you, you're not going to be healthy from it. But for a child under the age of 12, it's a pretty serious deal. So that's why you had that VSBA reaction, and schools in particular in a number of states. So you can see there the brain, liver, the kidneys. So basically all your vital organs are infected, in particular the brain. And it's pretty serious for pregnant women as well. So we go over that one. So you can see to where we are here now with the ABCB, and they formally moved to adapt the lead safe material. Now that happened around about a year ago, maybe a bit longer, but the NCC updated 2023. So it gives manufacturers around about 3 years to get up to date with 0.25% lead in the brass. So, and also to change, you could use stainless steel as well, which has no lead in the brass. So it's giving manufacturers 3 years, and you might think 3 years, gee, that's a long time. But when you think of it, Galvin Engineering as a company started back in 2018. So we're 5 years on, and we're still 6 to 8 months away from getting all products fully updated to 0.25% brass or completely lead safe. And there's a lot involved in it. It's not just a matter of changing the material and then everything's sweet. It's new well certification, it's new watermark, it's new drawings, it's new Revit content, it's new product numbers on the website, it's new marketing, it's a whole process. You have to have, we have now around about 8 people in R&D just working on, 5 of them at least working on this full time to get all this stuff put through. So it's a huge cost for manufacturers. And I would say that most manufacturers probably, we started in 2018. I think most of them probably started changing about a year ago, maybe a little longer. So the 3 years realistically isn't that big a time frame for them. But best practice is to look at what you're actually specifying, especially for you guys. You do mostly thermostatic mixing valves, that sort of thing, TMVs. We specify. The architects usually involved with the commercial tapware for the schools, hospitals, and so on, along with maybe contractors, the bigger names like Axis and Central and these guys and Planet. They would be involved in that as well. But I think the one thing you guys can do, and is probably when it does come to you guys, I know that you probably would do it like a QA check possibly of the FF&E of the tapware to make sure it's I suppose compatible to the water system that you're installing within a hospital or school. Is maybe just to look at it and maybe just make a note to the architect and say, well, we're looking at healthier water systems. have you used lead safe products wherever possible, and crack it back to them. Because anything to do to making the water system healthier, it's not just getting rid of pathogens, Legionella, bacteria and all that sort of thing. It's making sure the entire water system is a safe water system. There you can see Victoria, they went straight away to lead safe materials and 0.25% lead. You wouldn't be able to put a 4.5% DZR brass tap in a Victorian school. This is a government school, by the way, not a private school. But you would think that most professionals, architects, and that would lean towards the healthier water system to 0.25 wherever possible, where they can specify such a product. New South Wales Education Department over 12 months ago said, yep, let's do 0.25, let's get lead safe wherever possible. If there's a product for it, let's do it. And they've put that in their EFSG guidelines.
Is there a special branding that you identify that?
Yeah, we do. We have a logo. I think you can see it on the top of this slide, right up the top there. So whenever you see that logo on our website, that basically means the tap is either 0.25 or completely lead free. See, the 0.25 isn't anything new. It's been around in Europe and North America for decades now. It's only Australia, probably the last of the developed nations really, to actually put this documented in. So if we're, with our supply partners from overseas that do our thermostatic mixing valves, they're already lead safe completely. If you look at sensor tapware and that sort of thing that you would get from whatever European country, if it's Germany or Switzerland or wherever, it's basically lead free anyway at the moment. This is probably a good one to look at, is the time frame, which really is what I was talking about before. The 3 years, it isn't that long a time, especially with specifications of hospitals and things like that. If you look at Tweed Valley Hospital, we're doing at the moment, my first conversation with SDH was probably 2018, and it's being built now. So that's the time frame it takes to actually get to installation stage. So I think probably the main, this is so small, Paul. The main part to look at is probably not so much the lower 2023s, but what we're looking at now, and especially in regards to our merchants as well. We've got a few guys here from Reece, but we've spoken to Reece head office and to a lot of the other top merchants, and they were looking at changing over fully in 2025, 1 year before the deadline. So they're not caught with any stock and any issues at supply, and don't have to send anything back to other suppliers and so on that they're not probably going to get credits and things for. Let's crack on to the next one. That's basically what I've been talking about already. The 2018, the NCC 2023 compliant, low lead for DZR brass, and the free stainless steel tapware for drinking and hand washing solutions. And yeah, so wherever possible, healthcare, education, public areas available. Between all the manufacturers, really, you should be able to get a lead-free or lead-safe product anywhere to fill your specification, even if it's not from the one supplier. You should be able to get a full specification at this stage now, 2023. So you don't have to wait till 2026, to May and say, oh, I'll switch over. So that's and that's basically that. We've already spoken about that, and that's how that logo is, David. You see that one there. So Galvin Clear equals lead safe technology. These are just a few of the product ranges, point of use mixers, TNVs. They're all fully lead safe now. And obviously your school pattern tapware was the first bastion we went to. Bubblers, drinking taps, anything in the schools. Went to either stainless, we've got a full range of stainless steel bubblers and things now, but you can also get the 0.25% lead as well in the brass. Obviously, there's a price difference from what we were using now with 4.5. Obviously, the lead component of the brass is a softening agent for machining and manufacturing. So that has to be looked at because it's a lot bigger process, a lot longer process now to machine. And even using a silicon as well to help soften the brass isn't exactly the same. It still is a longer process. Optus Stadium's just a flagship project, which is all lead safe. WA was one of the first states to change over government-wise. It's a standard there. And Victoria is fastly becoming that way. New South Wales is there as well. I'm not sure about South Australia and Queensland, but I know, well, obviously they will have to change as well. I'll just play this video for you. So this is just a bit about our manufacturing and our manufacturing processes that you'll see up here. And
water is one of the rarest commodities, and we really need to treat that commodity with a lot of care. So being able to deliver water in a way that is sustainable, and at the same time having the people that interact with it in a safe way is really important to us. My name is Tim Galvin, and I'm the fourth generation family member to join Galvin Engineering.
At Galvin Engineering, we design and manufacture safe, green and smart water solutions. Our purpose is all about designing and making taps, valves, wastes, water management systems that deliver safe water and are safe for the user to use. The business started actually in 1930. My grandfather, Roy, bought into the business in 1947. I would say we've become leaders in a couple of niche areas, and these are the high care, high risk environments, such as mental health facilities, aged care facilities, hospitals, schools, universities and prisons. I believe our strength as a business is all about our people, and it's all about creating long-term relationships. So we have relationships with customers that are 50 years old. We have staff that have been here over 40 years.
I think it's the fact that we are a family. It's about our values. It's about how we do it, and we're doing it in a sustainable way. Our customers have a lot of trust in our products. It's our logo, which is the mark of reliability. Very similar to the Australian-made logo, it instills trust in the products that we manufacture because they know they're built with sustainability in mind, and they're really innovative products. I get tremendous pride when I walk around the community and see our Australian-made products and the benefit that they bring to the people that use them. It's a really exciting time to be part of Galvin Engineering as we explore how technology can add value to the way we engage with our customers, empower our employees, optimize our operations, and reimagine our Aussie-made products.
It's very much about making life easier for users, whether they be in Australia or anywhere around the world. So for me, that's everything.
all right, that's it. That's just the last little bit that was about our factory in Perth. We're still manufacturing here, and there's no plans not to. We'll continue servicing the Australian market and the overseas markets, and we'll keep pouring money back into Australia and into our workers. Is there any questions on the lead issues and what you've seen? Do we have questions, Paul, in this?
Do you have a feel for the extra cost that has been imposed now because of the level 3 requirements? And I say that not being curious, but you know, when comparing apples for apples, if you're 12.5% above a competitor, it sort of makes sense because that cost to manufacture these goods.
Yeah, when it first came out, we probably with the cost, we probably had to absorb a lot of it to be competitive because we started so much earlier. So it's really hard in the plumbing industry to sell a tap 20% more than our opposition. So, but now that everyone else is coming on board, it's sort of like more of a level playing field now. We're still that it's still a 20% more cost than what it is to make a 4.5% product. It's just not as easy. It's a much more difficult. Plus, there's all the other costs of the drawings, the watermark. the wells, all that costs. Everything has to go to SIA Global to be stamped off and what have you. So, but it is becoming easier now that, you know, everybody else is probably starting to catch up and will need to catch up. Yes.
Fantastic. Please put your hands together for Mark.
Thank you, Paul.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We're going to swiftly follow that. With Chris. So Chris from Vinidex, please put your hands together for Chris.
That should be fine. Hello, 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 hello. Trying to get the right angle. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Paul. Thank you for the HCAA for letting me present today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Chris. I work for Vinidex as the commercial drainage specification manager. If I haven't been to your office yet, please take a photo, please reach out. I'd love to pop in and discuss some of our commercial drainage offerings. But today we're here to talk about innovation and some of the sustainability innovation that Vinidex has going on at the moment, namely our recyclable PVC frames and our PVC recycling initiative. Believe it or not, despite being predominantly a plastics manufacturer, sustainability is one of the core principles of the Vinidex business. And while these initiatives may not be super relevant or super duper important to hydraulic designers, I think it's important to specify, as you know, kind of the environmental impact some of your choices make when specifying products. So as I said, Vinidex is committed to being a leader in sustainability. As a leader in manufactured Australian pipe systems, we believe it's our responsibility to do what we can to be the center of sustainability. And we've got some pretty hefty sustainability targets. So one of those targets is to quadruple our recycled content in our products, zero waste to landfill. We want to reduce our CO2 reduction in our manufacturing sites by 75% and achieve 100% renewable electricity in our plants as well. Product innovation with improved environmental impact. And as part of this commitment, we're partnering with some of the leading champions in the industry to be able to provide this. And part of that is our PVC pipe packaging. So to kind of give you an idea, this is kind of what PVC pipe packaging looks like now. This is throughout the industry. It's pretty industry standard. Timber blocks with nails and strapping, right? So one crate of 100 mil PVC, 100 mil DWV, which is the fastest selling product that we have. Each one of those crates has 3 5-kilo timber frames. So that's 15 kilos per crate of pipe, right? And you know, our customers and plumbers churn through this pipe like there's no tomorrow, thousands and thousands and thousands of lengths. So as you can imagine, one crate, 15 kilos, that all goes to landfill, right? That's not reusable. We don't reuse it. It comes with nails, it comes with strapping. That poses an OHS risk when the guys are unloading in the stores. It also poses an OHS risk for our guys in the factory when they're packaging up the pipe. So yeah, Vinidex's innovation department came out with PVC pipe packaging, right? Well, we make PVC, right? So it's just another it kind of made sense, right? So there's no nails, no strapping, so it improves manual handling. It's safer to unload. It's safe for our guys in the factory. It has a simple click lock mechanism. I kind of wish I had a video. When the Galvin guy was showing a video, I thought, he's got one up on me. I should have had a video for everyone. But the simple click lock means there's no hammering, there's no nails. Nobody's going to get cut. There's no, it reduces OHS, which is a big thing throughout the industry. Now, probably the big thing is these frames can be reused up to 20 times. So if not more, but the average amount that we've calculated is up to 20 times. So this is currently being rolled out in New South Wales. So 20 times, if you've got, if you compare that to the 15 kilos that we're wasting of timber times 20, that's a pretty significant, it's a 300 kilos of timber that we're saving for one crate of pipe. So it's a pretty significant saving. And the other big thing is which I'll touch on more with our PVC recycling, it's 100% recyclable. So we take it back, we recycle it, we put it into new frames, whooshka, away we go. So there's a little bit of a flow chart on how it works. This is, pretty technical, but I'll run through it with you guys just to run through it. So we schedule production, we make the frames, the pipe goes in the frames, pipe goes out to our customers unload the pipe, and instead of chucking the frames out, they put them to the side or they put them in a safe place. And either we pick them up on their next truck run to their store, or there's a QR code that they can scan and they can say, hey, come pick up our frames. Now we bring it back to our factory. Oh, they've been run over with a forklift. What do? We crush it down, we reuse it, we recycle it. Oh, they're in good condition. Bada bing, bada boom, same day, put some pipe in, send it out the door, and away we go. Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. That wasn't in my speech. The other initiative that I'm pretty excited about, which we're successfully rolling out in New South Wales, is PVC recycling, right? So before I came to Vinidex, I thought kind of plastic's the devil, we're trying to save all the turtles from the straws, and plastic gets a bad rap, single-use plastic. But just for your guys' knowledge, you probably know, PVC has a 100-year design life, right? So, and what we think, and nobody can prove us wrong because this will be much, much, much further in the future, but we can recycle PVC, we can recycle the resin within PVC up to 6 times, right? So in a perfect world, that's 600 years of use of PVC resin. So Vinidex has partnered with some plumbing merchants, and our recycling initiative underway in New South Wales. We supply crates to these plumbing merchants. Plumber comes in, he chucks his waste in the bin. We take it back to our factory, we crush it down, we recycle it, and we put it into new products. Currently, the recycled resin that we use is only used on the internal layers of the pipe, with the outer layer being a virgin or unused resin. We don't discriminate. So we'll take anyone's PVC, same with our poly recycling, which is our PE. We'll take anyone's MDPE, we'll take anyone's HDPE, and we'll extract that resin and we'll reuse it in our products. So it's a pretty exciting time. The national rollout is on the horizon. We're looking to launch in Vic and Queensland over the next couple of months, and we're hoping as this kind of snowballs and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we can get this across into every plumbing store, and it kind of becomes like copper recycling without the rebate to the plumber. And just finally, I just got a couple of happy snaps. I don't know if I can start zooming in. So there's a bunch of scrap pipe. We bring that back to our factory. It goes through a machine and gets crushed down into aggregate. The aggregate goes through another machine whereby it's hard up without a mouse. Whereby it's crushed down again further, gets into this fine aggregate, which then it's melted down, it's cleaned up. So it doesn't matter if it's got glue and dirt and sludge and whatever else goes on in the ground. We'll take it back, we clean it up, we extract the resin, and we reuse it. So thank you for having me. They're just some of the initiatives that we are currently doing. If again, take a photo. If I haven't been to your office, or you want some more information about some of our other innovation in the space, please reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris.
So Dave said Lena's not getting the microphone.
A question.
Oh, I thought I'd sidestepped it.
Potentially on some of the larger sites, you could put little crates there, because plumbers, like most people, are lazy, and put it on the back of their ute and drive it to the next Reese outlet and dump it there. It's hard work. So, anyway, congratulations, well done.
Whew, got off lightly. Thanks, guys.
The simplest solutions are always the best ones, yeah? Don't go away, come back. So, we're going to take it heads and tails, so everyone's standing up. So if Vinidex did lucky door prizes, what have we got, Chris?
Oh,
Well, thanks for asking, Paul.
we've got a Vinidex, I don't know, bag full of Vinidex goodies with, it's a cooler, there's all sorts of stuff in there.
What's inside it?
It's a mystery, surprise. There's cups and the winner will find out. How's that? Am I asking the questions or you? I don't want to steal your thunder if you want to. We'll go one each.
So we've got the bag and we've got the wine. You've got to do one each, yeah?
Yeah.
So everyone get on your feet, apart from the people. Who's allowed to play, by the way? Is everyone allowed to play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's allowed to play, apart from anyone who cannot accept gifts. I'm looking at this table over here.
No,
Alrighty, ready?
can't accept gifts.
You know how to do this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I going first?
Go for it.
Oof. All right.
Heads or tails?
Does everyone know the rules? Do you want to explain the rules?
It's very simple.
You put your hands on your head. So before becoming the Prince of Darkness with rock group Black Sabbath, lead singer Ozzy Osbourne was an apprentice plumber. True or false?
True.
I'm not running this game. True is heads, false is your tuchus. The answer is true.
Boom.
Love it. Before finding his feet and his infamous slogan, "My name is Michael Caine," Michael Caine trained as an apprentice plumber. True or false?
What? I understood, mate. I got it.
Before finding his feet and his infamous slogan, "My name is Michael Caine," Michael Caine, the actor, trained as an apprentice plumber. True or false? A lot of confidence here. We all selected. It's true. Wow, I've got like 20 questions here.
There you go.
Oh, wow. All right, true or false? Albert Einstein once quoted saying that if he could do it all over again, he would have become a plumber.
True or false? Is everyone selected?
It's true. We're gonna skip a few. We've got 20 questions here. We're only here for 4. Right. True or false? 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. It's true.
Put that one.
With the next one down.
This one.
Oh, yeah. 7. Yeah, okay. All right. The Australian Alps, or Snowy Mountains as they're known, receives more snow than Switzerland. True or false? Apparently that's true.
Yep. It's true. Wow, we're down to 2. We're only on question number 8. Maybe we should do 2 of these. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know.
This one?
Yeah.
When an Aussie tries selling New Zealand on eBay, I've lost where I am. The starting price was $1. True or false? When an Australian tried to sell New Zealand on eBay, the starting price was $1. True or false? Wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you can't. Okay. It's false. It was 1 cent. Well done, Brad. Go and get your prize, mate. You got a picture with Chris from our lovely Kate. Kate, whoa. Stop. Over inside the front of the banner. Alrighty, that was fun. So while that's happening, just a reminder, we are going to be celebrating our 5th anniversary next year. I think it's May or June next year. So if anyone's interested in sort of participating in a little subcommittee to organise that, have a little fun. I think you did one a few years ago, didn't you, Dave? Down at the Darling Harbour. I remember attending that one. What was that for? 25th, 30th?
The other branded
Yeah.
affiliation. Like 40 years.
40 years, yeah. So we're going to do something very similar, but on a grand scale. So if anyone wants to be part of that, please get in touch with myself or Emily or anyone in the committee, and we'll make that happen. Alrighty, so that's the end of the committee report, and I think, what are we doing for time? We're actually behind time, so we're going to go straight in. Alright, so going to invite, or put your hands together for the one and only Neil Savory.
We're good here. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me. I'd actually like to start by congratulating HCAA. 4 years now, but obviously I've just seen that it's 5 years. I'm looking at Tom in particular because I can remember 5 years ago when you were, or 4 years ago when you were first established, some of the traumas that you went through at that point in time. At the time I was CEO of the Australian Building Codes Board, and we were experiencing some of our own difficulties dealing with the hydraulic engineering fraternity at the time. And you said Nick's not here. I've actually never met Nick, but Nick, pardon? Nick, hi, if you're online. So Nick and the committee and everyone who was involved at that time, we went through some of the agony that the organisation experienced, and just watching it grow over the last few years and getting to where it is now with chapters in other jurisdictions. It's wonderful to see. So well done on that. The other thing I thought I would just make some comments following the presentation from Galvin Engineering just on the lead-free. I also had some responsibility for introducing lead-free plumbing into the National Construction Code, again with my colleagues sitting on the table here. But I just think it's important, particularly because there was the question about marking. There will be a watermark lead-free marking, so you will have to use those products. So whilst there is a lead safe, I think was the Galvin Engineering, that's a Galvin Engineering proprietary logo. That's not the watermark logo. So in addition to watermark, it must carry a watermark lead-free logo. That's been trademarked. I'm not speaking for the ABCB now, but I'm telling you this is a fact. So in 2026, when the regulation becomes active, you can only, or plumbers can only install products that need to be lead-free. That is all copper alloy products exhibiting that logo. So I'm just letting you know, because that's a regulatory requirement that will be enforced, presumably, by the states and territories. I did also just want to make a mention about the 3 years. The politics of running these sorts of projects is not simple. I'm sure you appreciate that. Let me say that had the politicians carried the day, lead-free would be in place now. We wouldn't have got 3 years. We fought very hard within the office, not only to give industry 3 years, but in fact to give it 4 years. So before NCC 2022 was adopted, we actually got the ABCB to publicly adopt the lead-free requirement a year ahead of NCC 2022. That was to give industry as much forewarning as possible that this was coming. Again, I haven't been there in the last 12 or more months. What's been quite unfortunate is getting the trademark approved through IP Australia. And some of the other machinations of just getting these things in place through the regulatory system. So what I think was a good faith exercise on the part of the ABCB to give industry 4 years turned out to be less than 3 years. And then just at the last, was it the April board meeting or April board meeting, the board agreed to push the adoption date out from May 2025 to the date that was on that last slide. So we actually, I think you clawed back the full 3 years again, and that is to assist in product manufacturers, suppliers, importers in getting those products recertified where they have to be. And in fact, it's only now, and I represent, as you'll see in this presentation, one of the new cabs on the block, the International Code Council Evaluation Services. It's only now that they're actually able to get accreditation from JASANS to be accredited to certify to lead-free. So that's actually only taking place now. There is not a cab in Australia, international or local, that currently has accreditation for lead-free certification. It's taking place right now. So unfortunately, those things have eroded some of the time that had been set aside. So that wasn't my presentation or the purpose of being here, which is to talk about global building safety, which brings with it a focus on the organisation that I now represent. I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Sorry, just worked that out. So I now work for an outfit called the International Code Council. If you've never heard of the International Code Council, the ICC, the best way that I describe them is that they're a combination of the ABCB, Standards Australia, JASANS as an international accreditation agency, a bit of NATA, just about all the sort of conformance infrastructure that you can think of in Australia exists within one entity in the US, and it operates in a global environment. So the International Code Council presents itself as a family of solutions. So if you think about all those things that I just mentioned and others, they wrap that up in an offering to the American audience, and now increasingly on an international stage, the opportunity to participate in international code development. And having said that, I've already told them Australia is not about to adopt the I codes. It's got its own national construction code. New Zealand's got the New Zealand Building Code. Within that, they've got their own plumbing codes or areas that deal with plumbing, etc. But as I get towards the middle of or end of this presentation, I think you'll get hopefully a bit of an appreciation of how the I codes actually can be used in Australia. And particularly, and I'm going back here to some of the early conversations I had with Nick and his colleagues at the setting up of the HCAA, where there was a particular interest in assisting hydraulic engineers in performance solutions, because in the world of plumbing and everything to do with drainage, etc., it's hydraulic engineers out of everyone in that industry who, if anyone's doing performance, they are. And of course, you've got a plumbing code of Australia, which is a performance-based code. So I'll come back to that, but this slide just indicates the broad aspect of the ICC. And I think it's useful just to understand that most things in America to do with things like building and plumbing regulation and many parts of regulation are not run by government. They're run by not-for-profit organisations or private enterprise. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with organisations like Underwriters Laboratories, IAPMO. They're all competitors. In fact, there are over 100 building standards writing bodies in America. We've got Standards Australia. So increasingly, there's a globalization of the I codes. That's obviously a deliberate strategy on the part of the International Code Council to get their codes used in more countries. If the codes are used in more countries, the standards that are referenced, many of which are American standards, not just ICC standards, but American standards, get adopted. What happens? You get more trade. China's doing exactly the same thing. China's trying to take control or have greater control over ISO, because if they can get greater control over ISO, ensure that there's greater recognition of Chinese standards, that's better for the trade of Chinese products. So this is an international sort of competitive environment that we're now talking about, whereas Australia and New Zealand really don't try to operate in that space, and certainly not to the level of trying to compete with other global entities. So the ICC is an outgrowth of the unique decentralized building regulatory system in the United States. And when I use the word building, in America, that includes everything that's involved in construction. So plumbing, electrical, gas, anything that you can think of. So there is no national building code or national ministry. So it's up to each jurisdiction in America. And so we think that it's difficult with 8 states and territories getting national consistency. You're talking 50, but wait for it. You've then got local government can adopt different codes to what the state adopts. So now we're talking hundreds of potentially different ways. And it's not that they might just adopt, say, the 2023 version of the I-codes. Someone might adopt the 2019 version of the I-codes or the 2013 edition of the I-codes. So it gets very fragmented in that context. Public-private partnership. So the way that they call themselves a not-for-profit, that's the way that the company is set up. But the way that they develop, along with many of their competitors, is through an arrangement working with local jurisdictions, public building officials, etc., who participate in their standards development processes, the development of what they call acceptance criteria, which are kind of like technical specifications. And this is all by way, obviously, this is in part promoting the ICC, but it's all by way of also illustrating different ways of doing things. We're very used to the way in which we do things, and the opportunity potentially to import some of the intellectual property and the development of standards and other things that they do into Australia, rather than reproduce or invent something new from the ground up here. And that's a conversation that I'm having with Standards Australia and New Zealand standards as well. Enforcement is at the local level, often facilitated by private sector solutions. So whilst not so relevant to this audience, if I was talking to a group of building surveyors, in America, it's all done by local government building officials. In Australia, it's done mainly by private certifiers, local government overlay, state government regulator overlay. So very different systems. The ICC model building codes are used by, as I said, jurisdictions around the world. And they're unlike our code and the New Zealand code, where we have 3 volumes, but basically all of the subject matter is contained within those 3 volumes. In America, they break the I codes out into the subjects. So each volume is a subject. Fire is a subject, plumbing is a subject. And as a result, each of those is a volume in its own right. Why is that of benefit? Well, particularly for those who operate in the space in America where you're paying for your codes, whereas we've made the codes free in Australia, it means you're only buying the code that's of use or relevance to you, rather than buying the whole code. In Australia, when we used to charge, back in 2016 for the code, if you were buying the plumbing code, you actually had to buy the whole national construction code, sort of thing. So it's a different way of doing things. But I thought these 4 volumes might be of particular interest to this audience. So in amongst those 15 volumes, you've got the International Plumbing Code itself, the private sewage disposal elements. Can't even read some of this myself because it's so, can you see that? Yep. International code, fuel gas, yep. And the last one, buildings and facilities. So for instance, they've got a maintenance code. So that last one actually factors into their maintenance code, which we don't have in Australia. Now I'm putting those up and I'm suggesting that you might take an interest in them, because when you get to this, you start to see the sorts of standards. Now, most of these are not plumbing related. I will come to that in the next slide, or hydraulic related, but it gives you a sense of the broad aspect of areas of interest that these guys are involved in. But where PMG, plumbing, mechanical and gas, is of particular interest to the ICC is that they've created a centre of focus. So they've now made a decision that in an international environment, they want to take a lead and be a thought leader in the space of plumbing, mechanical and gas. And through that, they've identified 4 areas. And it was interesting to hear in that earlier presentation about electrification. That is one of the areas that they have a particular interest in terms of where they're looking at developing certain standards. And one of those areas that might just be of interest, there's the standard for sizing water distribution. And I think, Tom, I'm right in saying that Tom, and if you know Ross Wakefield at MB in New Zealand, they're both on this committee. So what ICC does is invite international participation onto its committees, such that not only do they get to learn from what's happening elsewhere in the world, and I know for a fact that on this particular one, they're particularly interested in the work that the ABCB's been doing in this space, but it also means that there's potentially a greater prospect that their standard might get picked up somewhere else on an international stage. So there's the standard for private sewage disposal systems. Are you on that one as well? Yep, oh, there you go. Peter's on that one. Standard for mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. And then the one that I'm particularly interested in is the standard around carbon emissions. So embodied carbon, I'm sure you know it's not a new topic for you, but this is going to be the next frontier for reducing carbon in buildings. So ABCB for the better part of the last 20 years has been upping the energy efficiency of buildings. It will get to the point in the next 5 or so years where we reach carbon neutral or zero energy buildings. That is the target. So what lies beyond that, that's the operational part of buildings. And if you like, the thermal comfort of buildings. So the next part is going to be the inputs to the building, which is going to be the embodied carbon. So the gentleman from pipes, you know, that's the next frontier in terms of carbon going into products. And then beyond that, and the recycling part is going to be the circular economy and how we can then make sure that we, not only do we have as limited carbon going into the product, but that carbon is being recycled at the end of the life cycle of that particular product. So that's an area that I'm particularly interested in. The other one that I'm also interested in that they're developing is their prefabrication offsite construction. I think modern methods of construction are going to become increasingly important, not only because they reduce the amount of carbon used, they reduce the amount of waste that is used, they reduce they improve workplace health and safety. And, you know, bathroom pods are kind of leading in that space already. And I'm sure there will be other plumbing systems that hydraulic engineers will become involved in as part of offsite construction and the modularization of the building industry. You know, what we'll think about in the future is that parts of buildings will be like what car factories produce. Whereas today we think of it all taking place on a building site. A lot of it's going to be coming out of the factory and it's putting it together as a Lego set. And that's reality. And it's got a lot of benefits associated with it. And just in terms of the IPC, it recognises new materials, new technologies, engineered designs, providing multiple options, flexibility for the design of plumbing systems, and the list goes on. Now, the reason why I mention that, and it's kind of related to the whole international focus, and it goes back to the point I was talking about before around performance. And I think this is something I particularly want to emphasise to those of you who are hydraulic engineers and have and do work in the space of developing performance solutions. One of the things that the I-codes can potentially offer is a solution that you can create or use as a performance solution to meet the performance requirements of the Plumbing Code of Australia. And the reason I say that is because the I-codes are highly prescriptive. So even though they've got they call it a performance-based code, their performance is actually one of those 15 volumes. They treat it as a subject. So unlike Australia, where the whole code is a performance-based code, they have a pathway for performance through a volume of their code. But what that means is because so much of the code, the other suite of I codes, including the International Plumbing Code, are prescriptive, there could actually be a solution already in there that can't be used as a DTS in Australia, but it can be used as a performance solution in Australia. Do you see the connection? So that's why I'm suggesting to you that the IPC could be a source of ready-made solutions for some of your systems that you're potentially designing. I'm not going to go through any of these individual elements in detail, just to obviously pick up on the same theme that was talked about here, that fuel gas is going to be replaced. So code writers, standards writers have to start thinking ahead. And so do you as an audience, in terms of how that's going to impact on your industry, on your business, and on your own design solutions. Water reuse, nothing new there. So just the last couple of slides are really to talk a little bit about some of the other elements of the ICC. I said at the start that the ICC is the new cab on the block. So it's just been accredited by JASANS as a watermark certification body. Obviously they want business. If there is anyone here or you know of manufacturers who want to get products certified, like IAPMO, SIR Global, any of the others that are in the industry, ES is there as an option. And just picking up on watermark lead free, they are actually offering to do the transfer to watermark lead free free. They'll recertify products to lead free because they've got the experience. They've been doing NSF 362, 372 since its inception in America. And they've got their own test facilities, although they are in America. So they do product testing for other things. They do plan review, modular offsite construction, structural engineering calculations, etc. So they're a pretty diverse group. They also do code consulting. So if, for instance, someone looked at the International Plumbing Code and said, that actually interests me, that could be a solution to my problem, you can actually talk to ICC to get them to do some of the consulting elements of that for you. So that's the pitch, but hopefully there's also some useful information in there for you around the International Code Council. They're my contact details. We've set up an Oceania office. I'm in Canberra, and they're my contact details. And there's a couple of web links there to Oceania and global services. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic, Neil. Congratulations. They put your hand together for Neil. Got their congratulations. We're just looking at online questions as well. And while
There's just one down here.
Tom's going to rush to the front. Go, Tommy. Run.
Sorry. It's a sensible question. Thanks, Sam. That was very insightful. And I've heard your name many times with Exode and I discussing things years back about establishing this HCAA, so you're all part of that. Could you clarify the ICC codes, particularly the plumbing codes? Are we saying, given that Australia is on the board of the ICC or part of that association, that I'm not using correct terminology, just
I will have to correct you. The ICC is not on the board of, sorry, Australia is not on the board of the ICC.
Okay, so the leading question is that you've provided information that we should review these plumbing codes to use this alternative solution. Are we endorsing those codes in any way from an Australian perspective?
No. So, and sorry if I wasn't clear. So ABCB produces the National Construction Code, which includes the Plumbing Code of Australia. They are the technical codes and the reference standards within them that practitioners have to abide by to meet the performance requirements. As you know, because it's a performance-based code, one of the pathways to demonstrate compliance is through performance solutions. Now, in most cases, AS 3500 as DTS has the solutions ready-made, but we all know there are circumstances when 3500 and other Australian standards that are referenced can't provide the solution you need. So you have to create something from the ground up. You have to create a unique solution. What I'm suggesting to you is that the International Plumbing Code, because it's a highly prescriptive document, may actually have that solution for you. If it does, you can't pick it up and bring it to Australia and say, here's a DTS, because it won't be accepted. It's not referenced in Australia, but you can use it as a performance solution.
That's wonderful. That saves us
Potentially.
research.
Yeah.
And it's lots of opportunities. 3500 is, you know, there's a lot of flaws in it. So
In every standard,
Yeah.
and there's flaws in American standards, and yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Neil? You're in the back. Super, Tom. Making you work it.
Thanks, Neil. Just want to get an idea of what would the average cost of one of the codes cost?
Yeah, if you were to buy the entire code, you are talking about several $1,000s, because they're a commercial enterprise, and that's one of the ways that they generate revenue. But they have a range of different packages in terms of how you can access different parts of the code or different parts of reference standards. But if there was ever interest in going down that path, I would be recommending that you either contact me or contact ICC itself and talk about what is it that you're particularly interested in, so that you're not wasting your time. And what they can often do is give you limited access, time duration access, so that you can actually have a look in it to see if it's going to be of any use before you have to buy it. But yeah, if you go onto those websites, you can actually see their price list, that sort of stuff, but they're not cheap.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
How come Tom, if he's the father, is doing all the walking?
I'm holding up this pillar, mate.
Just a quick question. You said that these standards have been adopted in different states and territories throughout a state of being compact for any country, states and territories.
Yeah.
Is there a list of these states and countries that are adopting these?
Yeah.
End up doing the work in Africa or other places.
Yeah.
Oceania. The usual standards, is that available to us on the website or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It should be available on the global one, the second one down the bottom. But look, by and large, it's North America, as you can appreciate, which includes Mexico and in some cases some Canadian provinces. So even though there's the Canadian Building Code, some of the Canadian provinces adopt some of elements of the I codes and their standards. Middle East, places like Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Emirates, Caribbean nations are also quite prevalent.
You made a reference earlier to the International Plumbing Code. Is that ICC?
Yeah, so the International Plumbing Code,
Which I've used in Dubai.
okay, is one of the suite of 15 which together comprise the I codes. And the I codes are produced by the ICC.
Anyone else, any comments or questions? Any questions online, Kate?
Okay.
I think I can't remember if you've joined, or I think we're looking at you becoming a member.
No, we're an affiliate now.
Yeah. Or is there some sort of affiliation where we can get discount in terms of think when someone asked a question of, I think if people want to buy those clothes.
I was actually speaking to my masters this morning in America. I call them my handlers. I've never met most of them. And I actually said, have I got discretion to do offers? And they said, sure, use your discretion. So, Paul, I'm happy to suggest that I'll go back to them and I'll make a deal if 50%. 50%.
Mates rates, yeah?
Yeah, mates rates.
All righty, if there's no more questions, please put your hands together for Neil. Thank you, Neil.
Thanks.
We'll have a small break, but just wanted to also highlight that Peter's going to do a presentation shortly as well. Peter's here from the ABCB, and also Tom Roberts here. If anyone's got any questions, put your hand up. He's right here. So if anyone's got any questions or any comments or want to talk to the guys, please do that in the break, and they're very approachable, and we'd be delighted to hear your feedback. So thank you. We'll reconvene in about 10 minutes or so. Thank you.
I didn't want to comment.
Alrighty, we're going to get started again. Going to invite Peter McLennan from the ABCB is going to come up and do a presentation. So we're going to get everyone's attention. Hello, Tom. Please put your hands together for Peter.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thanks for asking me to come up and talk. It's pretty hard towards the end of the night like this to get between you guys now wanting to go home or booze on somewhere else. So I'll try and keep it fresh and I'll try and keep it open. But I really want to talk about the changes that have happened to the plumbing code. I've been banging on about backflow prevention for about 30 years. So what I've seen from when I first started to what I see now in the plumbing code, there's been some significant changes along the way. We've always used 3500 as for backflow prevention, part 4. And up until NCC 2022 was published, there wasn't a way of going around the DTS of 3500 and the items that were in Appendix F of to identify what a backflow hazard was there. So we introduced in 2022 a hazard matrix or backflow hazard assessment tool that can help in that. So part of my presentation, it's most of my presentation actually, but I'll talk to that as we go. Oops. The changes to backflow prevention have been really significant this year, or for 2022. Backflow prevention has been evolving continually because the innovation of new products coming onto the market is that there are always another product that's going to be connected to the drinking water that needs some level of protection so that backflow doesn't happen and that the water is protected. So some of the things I'll talk about tonight, I'll give you a very short insight into part B5. I'll talk about the new specification 41, and specification 41 is a mandatory part of the code. I'll talk about the verification method or the risk assessment method that we developed that allows you to do the performance solution. Like Neil was talking about, you can do a performance solution to meet the DTS, or you can do the DTS, or you can do a mixture of both. So this now makes backflow prevention and cross-connection control a little bit easier to understand. I'll go through a worked example, and then we'll get to some questions and stuff. The expanded part B5 provisions this year added areas that like unprotected drinking water, extra backflow requirements for fire sprinkler systems, and backflow requirements for rainwater. So they've all been beefed up in NCC 2022. What you'll find is the guidance, a lot more guidance through the whole code as well. So it gives you greater than before guidance of how to interpret the DTS requirements. First one is specification 41. Specification 41 in the National Construction Code, if you see something called a specification, it is a mandatory part of the code. That means whatever's in specification 41 is deemed to satisfy, and it must be complied with. As I said, many of you will remember AS 3500 Appendix F in 3500 2018, I think it was, where there was about 50 or 60 backflow hazards listed in an appendix and the backflow protection requirements required for those. Well, that disappeared in 2021 edition, and now it's been replicated and rebuilt and redefined and evolved as part of NCC 2022. But that is specification 41. It still covers areas like individual protection, zone protection, and containment protection. So each of those areas are covered in specification 41. You'll notice that in clause 3, if you can read it here, that we talk about unprotected drinking water. In the past, people have put on a backflow prevention device, and downstream, they've called it non-drinking water. That's not the case. It's not, and some parts of Australia paint the pipes purple. It's not the case. It's not recycled water, but it is unprotected drinking water. The water that goes through that backflow preventer is still drinking water. It's only when it's cross-connected to something that it becomes a contaminant. So while it's not cross-connected, it's unprotected drinking water. And so industry has been struggling with this for a while because 3500 calls it non-drinking water. But the code now overrides 3500, as you know, and it's unprotected drinking water. This is an excerpt from specification 41, and this is how it looks when you look at it. And you'll see there the hazard ratings applicable to particular products in the actual individual application or zone application, etc. There are some good old friendly bidet douche seats and those sorts of things that everybody has fun with are now in there. And you'll see there's really hard and fast specifications around the backflow requirements for those things. Specification 41, as I said, is a mandatory deemed to satisfy requirement. So no matter what the manufacturer says, that he says, my product has integral backflow prevention and it's protecting this product, if specification 41 says it's still a high hazard, it still needs high hazard protection. So no matter what, the only people that can overrule the Plumbing Code of Australia are the regulators themselves through their own local ordinances and acts. However, there is only a known list of hazards that are in that list. There's about 100 of them, I think. And there will always be something else that comes up, an innovation of product or something like that. Plus also the code covers not only actual backflow prevention applications, but also potential cross connections. So bear in mind that if you're putting something within 18 meters of some high hazard application and there's a fire hose there or a normal hose tap there, that it could be a potential cross connection. So bear that in mind as well. But like I said, in the fast moving times of innovation, how many times have you come across or heard of an appliance that says, we've got backflow prevention? The plumber or the installer, in a lot of cases, can't get into this product, so he can't tell. So that's the whole idea of specification 41, to take a lot of that guesswork out for that installer and for the owner of the product. But as I said, there are myriads of applications now that aren't on that list. So we developed this hazard matrix to assist in the performance solution side of it to identify what the hazard of a particular application may be. So this evolved from a recommendation out of 2016, which identified that backflow provisions needed beefing up in the code, that it needed greater guidance and it needed more identification so that people could make it easier to understand and easier to interpret. The confusion relating to a risk assessment of a specific application causes disagreement all the time. It's the regulators who will disagree with the installers, who will disagree with the owner, who will disagree with the manufacturer. So this matrix, this risk assessment matrix, is there to bring that into line so that there is not a single source of truth, but something that you can hang your hat on and say, we worked our way through this risk assessment, and this is the reason we got for these reasons. The problem with people having so many different interpretations is that an installer will install a product. The plumbing inspector will come along and say it's wrong, pull it out. And so it's cost, it's time, it's stress, and it's grief. So hopefully some of this can be sorted out through using this matrix. We engaged a risk consultant to develop this. This was consulted across the country extensively, and we consulted lots of areas. We had the Backflow Prevention Association of Australia, each state and territory regulator, Standards Australia WS23 committee, which is the backflow standard. We had a special cross-connection control working group that we put together. WASA were involved. So we had lots of people involved with this that went through each iteration of this matrix to identify whether it worked, where the hiccups were, and what didn't work. And so that's when we came out with this. Even before we started publicising that we had this, this was tested extensively around Australia. It was developed and intended to be used as a tool to assist in identifying the cross connection. It is a performance solution tool so that the installer can meet the performance requirements of Part B5. And the performance requirements are that water should be protected against contamination. So anywhere that there is a drinking water connected to a machine, to something like that, there is a risk of contamination. So the performance solutions are provided in the code as alternatives to the DTS, to the deemed to satisfy. And like Neil was saying, it's a performance-based code. And so therefore, if you can identify a performance way to do things, and that's acceptable to the regulator, that might be the option at the time. It's a really easy to follow 5-step process, but there are some rules involved in this. It includes building classes. Now, a lot of plumbing practitioners don't understand building classes. They might know that a residential house is at class 1, but as they work through, unless they're doing it all the time, they don't talk building classes. So the National Construction Code, across its 3 volumes, talks about building classes for all practitioners, whether it's plumbing, whether it's carpentry, whether it's drainers, whether it's builders, whether it's fire, they all talk building classes. So we're including that building class as well. We talk about the water service type. Is it mains water? Is it an alternative supply? Alternative supplies can be rainwater. It can be recycled water. It can be a dam. So there's whole lots of different types of water services. What is the drinking water used for? Drinking water is the water that is provided to you by the Network Utility Authority. So what is that water used for? Is it for drinking? Is it for process? Is it for healthcare? Is it a mix of both? Is it a food manufacturer that uses it? What is the cross connection type? What's it cross connected to? Is it this machine over here? Is it a tap with a hose on it? So you have to understand, is it a temporary cross connection or is it a permanent cross connection? And then we talk about the extent of contamination. How many people could be affected if there is a cross connection? So to work through this matrix, you have to understand the installation and what is happening in that installation. A couple of things here. Building classes. Like I said, we find that people don't understand building classes, and that's part of what we've got to do at the ABCB, is to encourage plumbing practitioners to learn what a building class is and where they can go to find building classes. You may say, and people do say, that it doesn't matter what building class it is, plumbing's the same. You know, you still join that piece of pipe, you pipe up the tap, you put the drainage to the sink. Yes, it's still the same, but things have to be addressed differently in certain buildings, like heated water in childcare centres or hospitals and things like that. So there is an understanding requirement of what sort of building class it is. Another thing of interest in the matrix that we put together is the extent of contamination. Any backflow or any, risk assessment matrix has a likelihood and consequence equation to that. The construction of this risk assessment identified the extent of contamination. Up to 12 is one level, 13 to 100 is another level, and 100 plus is another level. So 1 to 12 is generally a house, a residence, a small shop, something like that. That's the amount of people that if there's a cross connection and a backflow incident there may be affected. 13 to 100 is multi-residential or smaller mixed-use properties, and 100 plus is high-rise shopping centres, etc. One issue that this has been raised now across the country is with the network utility operators, in so much that they don't care how many people, let me step back from that. They do care, they don't care whether it's 1 or 100. If there is a cross connection, that is the extent of the contamination. So this is something we're taking into account for the next iteration of this, because if there is one person liable to be affected by a cross connection, that network utility operator says, no deal. That cross connection has to be protected, and that level of protection must be greater than what this matrix may suggest. So once the scores are all summed, you go through those 5 things against an exercise, which I'll run through in a minute, and sum the totals, and you get the applicable hazard rating. As I said, this was subjected to extensive testing across the country. The bands are pretty wide when you look at that 0 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 10, and 11 or greater. And what that allows is different interpretations. Now, if I could say to someone in this room, run this through the matrix, and they will get an 8. And I'll say someone else run it through the matrix and they'll get a 10, but it still falls within that same band. So we tested this significantly and extensively across the country. And in all cases, there was satisfaction that it led a particularly consistent level across the backflow requirements. But this is an anomaly. By using the matrix, you won't be able to score a 0. There is no such thing as no hazard. If we're talking about cross-connection control, and we're talking about potential cross connections, that means there's a hazard. The only time we'll never get a cross connection is if there are no, a backflow hazard, if there are no cross connections whatsoever. And potentially that's unlikely to happen. So the code's talking about cross connection control. Using the matrix, you'll never get a 0. Okay, so what we got, like I said, is an easy to follow guide that practitioners can easily navigate. It allows the regulator to look at it and say, yep, I can see where you're coming from. I understand what you've got. But this matrix, like I said, I have to reiterate, it is only for areas that aren't covered by that specification 41. It cannot be used to try and change a hazard level that specification 41 says. So if it says it's a high hazard, you run it through the matrix with your biased rose-colored glasses on and come up with a medium hazard. Doesn't work. The code says it's still a high hazard. Okay, let's run through a brief example. Now, some of you would have seen this before. I'm going to show you how this works. It's an innovative new product. It's a steam-powered chicken plucker. I don't know if such a thing exists, so I made this up. So it's an innovative new product, and I've taken the patent out of it, so watch it. This is in a butcher, an organic butcher. What it is it's steam powered. It has water to it. It heats the water. It uses the steam to pluck these chickens before they're butchered at this butcher. So gut feeling, if I was a plumber that was installing this, or I was a designer that was putting this in, my gut feeling would say it's high hazard. But how do you know for sure? The manufacturer says that there is backflow prevention mitigation inside that machine, but you can't get into it to test it. So therefore, let's run it through the matrix and see what happens. We talk about the building class. We look at the building class. In this case, it's a small shop, so that'll be a class 6 building. So identify that, and the matrix, the VM score of the matrix, the verification method score gives it a level of 2. The on-site water service, well, there's only drinking water to this place. They don't even have fire sprinkler system. They've just got a fire hose in the corner. So it's only drinking water. It gets a score of 0. What's the water being used for? Well, it's attached to this machine, which does whatever it does to these chickens to defeather them. But as you can see, they're highlighted there. It could be animal, biological, or fecal matter, could be attached to the water supply. So that, excuse me, gives it a level of 3. What's the cross connection type? Well, it's plumbed in. It's a fixture. It's been connected, hard connected to the system. And it's got animal, biological. So that gives it a rating of 5. And the extent of contamination. Well, we're saying, based on our extent of contamination before, that it's in a shopping centre with a high rise above it. More than 100 people may be affected if there's a backflow issue. So it gets a high score of 3. Sum them all together and you get that 15. So once they're summed, as I said, you go back to that list there and see what it is. You'll see 11 or greater presents a high hazard. You can therefore confidently say to Mr. Regulator, to Mr. Owner, whoever, saying, I've run this particular product through this matrix, and here I can put my hand on my heart and say, I believe it's a high hazard because it meets this matrix. No longer is it gut feel. No longer is it a biased thought about it. No longer is it a unbiased thought that says, I want to sell more of these products. But so therefore, you've got something that you can use as almost evidence to show that you've assessed this product and this is the level you've got. We need feedback as we develop this code, as we develop this VM. The verification matrix is, as you saw, that was its first iteration. It's been tested extensively, but it's people in the industry that understand what they do on a day-to-day basis that will help us go forward further. And there's ways that you can do that through contacting us directly or through our website or through performance proposals for change to the code. If you know something's not working, if you don't think it's working, talk to us, because the codes are developed for you people, by you people. We sit in Canberra and we put these together with consensus and that through the regulators, but we do it for the practitioners. So if there's something that's particularly of grievance out there, or can be done better, we want to know about it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It was short and sweet because I was told I didn't have very much time. And I have been talking this around the country a bit, so some of you would have seen it before, but I'm happy to take questions.
Fantastic. Has anyone got questions? I'm walking straight over to you.
Just a simple question, Peter. The labelling of plywood.
Yes.
We identified say non-drinking water, and we commonly apply potable water.
The code up until 2022.
Unprotected water. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yes, the code up until 2022 called things potable. It changed to drinking water at that stage because drinking water, the definition of drinking water is water that you'll consume or use for personal purposes. Whereas potable water can be used for lots of other stuff. So potable water is still there, but drinking water is actual for drinking. Unprotected, you'll see that with the iteration of 3500.1 2024, that there will be they will reference unprotected water supplies as well.
So an unprotected water supply, backward pitch, that means there's no other water connected to that, no chance water be used for any drinking purposes.
It can go through the backflow preventer and just go straight to a kitchen in somewhere. And as long as it's just a kitchen, it's still just unprotected drinking water. But as soon as you're in that kitchen and you hook up a beverage dispensing post mix thing, that is no longer unprotected drinking water.
So trade waste.
Yep. Yeah.
That means that tap is what the nation mean.
I think if you look into 3500, I think it is, and that any hose cock within 18 meters of a hazard must have the same hazard rating as that hazard. So
we've got that. So
yeah.
we've got a non-drinking water sticker on.
Yes, I would. That would be my suggestion. Yes. Yes.
Just a quick question. Well, actually, I just want to make a point first.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but with Department of Fair Trading and that, with inspections and that, years ago they'd walk around industrial complexes and pick out steam boiler that needs an RPZD and tell them they need to fix this, fix that, and everything else. I've asked them questions more recently, and it's sort of like, well, after the meter, we don't really care about it. Our main's protected. We don't really care what you do after that. So I don't know if anyone else has come across that, but they don't seem to show the same level of.
I'll throw across to Tristan in a moment because Tristan's from Fair Trading, but the basis is that Fair Trading look after the people. Sorry, what happens inside the property is generally the local council or the water provider like Sydney Water. But I'll go on, Tristan.
So can I just?
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted one more thing on that work example you went through.
Yep.
It was only that there was a high-rise residential above that building that all of a sudden it moved up into a high hazard. Would have been a medium hazard otherwise, with some steam plug or whatever.
Yep.
Surely anything with steam, like if you go back to your old schedule or your specification, it's normally an RPZ straight away. But if we're using that worked example, I'm looking at saying, well, we don't need an RPZD. It might be steam generator or whatever else, but it's a lower. We can get away with something lower.
And it's a good point. The biggest issue with that particular product is that it is attached to could be animal biological fecal matter, and then so it becomes high hazard straight away.
So
you're right.
You're suggesting that the chicken's going to shit itself before it gets steam.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, this is my
Once it sees that steam coming for it, it might do. But you're right. Also in our list of things, we talk about steam boilers and things as being a high hazard anyway. I was trying to identify a innovative product no one's ever seen, and so I have to go back to the drawing board and find something else. Thank you.
I suppose I'm happy to comment after that anyway on behalf of Fair Trading. So just if anybody doesn't know, my name is Tristan Luther. I'm the manager of the plumbing inspections team. So we've got 13 inspectors. We predominantly look at plumbing and drainage work within the property boundaries. Okay, Sydney Water or the relevant network utility, but yeah, like I said, Sydney Water, Hunter Water, or the local council or authority, they will look at everything outside the property boundary. Okay, containment devices is predominantly regulated by the network utility. They set their own standards. So in the Sydney Water area, They've got their own requirements in the Hunter Water area. They've got their own requirements in the local utilities. I suppose if our plumbing regulator or our plumbing inspector turns up out on site there, I suppose they will look at the containment device on site, okay? If it's something that would suffice the PCA, then we're satisfied with it, okay? If it's something that would be an issue for the network utility, we'll let them know anyway, and they can let the plumber that has installed it, I suppose they'll get them to rectify it, okay? Because it's under their customer condition and their network requirements anyway. I suppose, Peter, just to clarify, we can't make I suppose we have our own legislation. We can't go against that legislation. So if you think we're breaking the rules and we can break the rules, we can't. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
And I suppose just from one other point from our side is that there is, I suppose, it's great that the ABCB's come up with this matrix and the performance solutions that are available, but we're also, I suppose, we're trying to be pragmatic from a regulator's point of view anyway. So, you know, I suppose in the past there's been this, I suppose, common industry practice. If in doubt, just whack an RPZ valve on it. We're happy to accept that in lieu of the performance solution, and we've got that stated on our website on a technical note. So don't feel like you need to send us a performance solution if you put an RPZ valve on it.
And thanks, Tristan, for clarifying that. And this is where, of course, we're federal. We write the code on behalf of the states and territories. But as for the local requirements in their plumbing acts and requirements, they're the best people to ask what's right and what's wrong in that particular case.
Just with just a question with the we assess the individual device, but if that particular shop had a zone device, which the whole shop, would all the numbers then change? Because you won't be affecting more than 4 people in the shop, and you won't be affecting the parcels that you had on the list.
Probably not, because if there is still drinking water coming off that pipework within that shop after the zone device, that particular product is still hooked up to a high hazard weight problem. So you would still need to put an individual device at that product, at that machine. No, it's still a high hazard. Even though you might only, because it's got the fecal and the biological products, that once you get anything like that with blood products or sewage products, that makes it automatically high. You can't get around that.
Yeah, okay. I've been prompted by Tom here to not picking on anyone, but at the back of one of Reese's largest stores there in Waterloo, the pipe marking stickers that are available to the industry really are just stuck with potable. I think we said. Yeah, don't use it. Yeah, so
I'll just show to Tom. Tom, is 3,500 changed?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've used the term potable. Yeah, it's been a long time since that terminology has been used, and the labeling just hasn't kept pace, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as potable for the plumbing code.
Yeah, look, only because I did discuss this with Tom, building a display just to represent the different sort of piping services, and yeah, like I went somewhere that I thought would sort of give me that, but I think it's pretty generic across the industry that potable is still the main term.
It is changing, but you're right, it does take a long time for things to change.
Just like I heard someone say before, he said alternative solution, performance solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. We've got some questions online that Kate's going to read out.
Sure.
Okay.
This is a long one, so
okay.
Up. You mentioned that if the product manufacturer has documentation stating additional backflow protection is not required, this is no longer acceptable. What about if a product such as an Ecolab chemical dispenser that has a watermark certificate of conformity that was evaluated to the watermark technical standard 101 appliances low hazard rating, stating that the product has a suitable indoor air gap and the certificate is in date until 2025. Does this now require black backflow if the matrix says so?
You wouldn't use the matrix. So chemical dispensers are in specification 41, and specification 41 will tell you what you need. And if it's a hand wash station or a chemical dispenser that dispenses low hazard product, it's suitable for low hazard protection. If it dispenses high hazard product, it must be high hazard protection. If you cannot, and then therefore, if you cannot identify that it will always be the same product and may tomorrow change that different manufacturer, and it may be high tomorrow, theoretically you should go straight to high hazard protection. So the watermark specification is overruled by the PCA.
Thank you. Next. Question for backflow update. A single fire hose reel branched off the domestic line was once protected with just a dual check valve. Is this not the case, and should it be a double check valve even in a no or low hazard location?
Depends where you go in the country. It's the local local regulator requirements. Queensland is double checks.
Tell us what we think.
Queensland is double checks, have to be testable. Some other parts of the country is just a dual check. So it's really up to that local requirement for what their fire is.
If the NCC would say something different, then surely we're signing off on the NCC, not what the local requirement, if it's less than the NCC.
The NCC doesn't talk about fire in so much other than to say that if it's a, trying to remember the right wording here, that if it is a low hazard, so therefore it's not connected to any tank that has chemical injection or foam retardant or anything like that, it is considered a low hazard application. The only reason some authorities put a double check on them is because it's now a hose and it's a potential cross connection with 36 meters of hose or whatever it might be on a fire hose.
Any further questions?
Thank you for being so patient and quite easy to get on with. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Well done. We're actually on time tonight. It's the first time ever. Well done, everyone. So I just want to sort of I just want to say thank you to all the speakers tonight. They were phenomenal. So please put your hands together and say Peter appreciation for them. Thank you. Again, we just want to re-emphasize the meetings we're going to have for the rest of the year. And if you're in the area or if you've got people in your offices in interstate, please do recommend that they attend these meetings. It'd be really appreciated. Thank you. And that is the end of the meeting. So thank you. If anyone's got any comments or any feedback, please let us know. We're here for you, and this is all about you. So please do let us know. Please let anyone. A lot of committee members here tonight.
Yeah.
There's committee members here tonight, so please do give your suggestions, and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you again, and thanks for everyone coming out tonight, and thanks for our special guest presenters and guest